This has been the season of frustration, a season where Real Madrid has not looked like itself, a season where Real Madrid in the big games has looked a shadow of the club that's ruled Europe over the last few years. We failed to beat AC Milan, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, and Liverpool. Typically, Real Madrid is a club that's known for showing up for the big games, even when they perform poorly against the weaker sides. But if there's one thing that's true, it's that Carlo Ancelotti, still into February, has not figured out the balance in this team. And there are three key issues that Carlo Ancelotti needs to resolve, which he still has not found solutions to. And obviously, this is the most important week of the season so far. Not only because of the clash against Atletico Madrid and what that means for our LaLiga hopes, but also for the Champions League. Because Atletico Madrid and Manchester City, stylistically, are very different sides. But a lot of the issues that Real Madrid is struggling with persist and will be there when Real Madrid faces these two big sides. And those three big issues are consistently beating teams that sit in a deep block like Atletico Madrid. Obviously, Real Madrid dropped points against Espanyol over the weekend, who sat in a deep block, and we saw again frustration on Real Madrid's side not being able to find solutions. The second thing is stopping the opposition's transitions. When Real Madrid doesn't have the ball and the opposition isn't in a transition, there has not really been a defined solution around stopping the opposition. And the third thing is getting Mbappe and Vinicius to perform well in the same side. Whenever Vinicius has been out, Mbappe has performed well and vice versa. Currently, Atletico Madrid is 1 point behind Real Madrid and in La Liga after Real Madrid failed to beat Espanyol. But more important than that is that Atletico Madrid's style poses a real challenge to Real Madrid. And that is why this game gives me a lot of concern, because this seems to be a boogie team for Carlo Ancelotti. If any of you remember, Atletico Madrid beat Barcelona in the 96th minute this season after a counter-attack where they were being pummeled the whole game. When we faced Atletico Madrid earlier this season, they scored a late equalizer in the 98th minute against us. And when we faced them at the Bernabeu last year, in this same fixture last season, we dominated the whole game. We were ahead in the game, and they scored in the 92nd minute of the game. So this game is going to require focus on behalf of Real Madrid. And being up by 1 goal is not enough. You know what they say, styles make fights. And for Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid is a side that just historically over the last few seasons we've struggled with. It's always been a challenge. Many of you know if Real Madrid gets through Manchester City, they will face the winner of Bayer Leverkusen and Atletico Madrid. So finding a solution against this side is going to be important, because they could be in our way in the Champions League if we get past City. Now, when you look at the game where we dropped points against Espanyol, that was a team that really gave us very little space. And many people have heard, whether it was Benzema or Cristiano Ronaldo, talk about the fact that Kylian Mbappe is not a traditional 9. He doesn't like to attack the near post. A lot of his goals have come with him moving into positions where he's asking for the ball to be moved to him very quickly, or in games where there's a transition opportunity and Kylian is exploiting that space behind the defenders. But when the opposition sits really deep like that, Kylian is not in spaces where he can really affect the game. But the few glimpses we have seen him have success was in games where he's combining in a 1-2. Typically, Jude Bellingham is playing that 9 role. He's occupying the center backs and he's playing the 1-2s with Kylian. But a lot of the times in these plays, they have not looked very fluid. And again, when we have found solutions to beating those deep blocks, it's been in games where Vinicius is out and Rodrygo's been the one playing on the left wing. And if you notice anything about those games where Vinicius is out, when Rodrygo plays off the left, he's more efficient in cycling the ball. Now, I'm not by any means saying somehow Rodrygo is the better option than Vinicius on the left and Rodrygo is the better player. Don't read too much into that. What I am saying is stylistically, Real Madrid looks better and they seem a little bit more balanced when Rodrygo's on the pitch and he's combining with Mbappe, because he's moving the ball to Mbappe a lot faster. And so when Kylian finds those spaces, he does get the ball very quickly and he's able to make a split decision. But when Vinicius is on the pitch, what he does is he takes a few extra touches, he draws defenders to him, then he looks into the box. Typically, he's used to having a 9 in the box like Benzema or Jude Bellingham last season attacking the space. But this season, Kylian is not the type of player who's attacking the near post. And so you're not seeing a lot of fluidity between those two players. And when Vinicius is taking those extra touches, the defense and the team, the opposition, they tend to put more bodies on that side. And then Real Madrid is not efficiently moving the ball, switching it to the right side, something that Toni Kroos used to do when he was still at Real Madrid. So you have Real Madrid moving the ball less efficiently, very left side heavy. Teams sit even deeper. And so you have this circle of issues that just continue and they keep compounding. And it's clear that Carlo Ancelotti has not found that solution to be able to address that issue so far. Now, one of the other key issues in this game is the lack of depth in the defensive line due to the injuries of Rudiger, David Alaba, Lucas Vazquez, and others. This actually would have been a good game to have Lucas Vazquez on the pitch, because when teams sit deep and you have a lot of possession of the ball, it makes sense to have a guy like Lucas Vazquez who can attack down the line and give you more creativity. That's what he's really good at. But it looks more likely that Fede Valverde will start as a right back with Raul Asensio and Tchouaméni as center backs. If there's one thing that we learned from the game against Leganes in the Copa del Rey, it's that Jacopo Ramon is not ready for the really big games. He just didn't look like he was ready for that sort of level of football. According to different things, including Carlo Ancelotti, Camavinga should be ready for this game, should be fit, which means it's likely that Camavinga and Ceballos or Camavinga and Modric will form a double pivot. Now, given that Luka Modric played 90 minutes in the Copa del Rey, it's unlikely that he's going to start the game against Atletico Madrid. Now, one of the things I'll be looking for in this game is Carlo Ancelotti finding a solution tactically to both Vinicius and Mbappe on the pitch against teams that sit in a deeper block, because I'm not worried about Vinicius and Mbappe combining and doing well against Manchester City, because Manchester City is going to give you a lot of space in behind and you're going to have opportunities in transition. Stylistically, we should do well against Manchester City with those two attackers. But then the other concern obviously is Manchester City is a very efficient pressing team. And so far this season, when teams have pressed us, we have not done well whatsoever. Just take the games against Barcelona, for example. So in this game, it's very likely Atletico Madrid, being away from home, they're going to try and limit Real Madrid's opportunities in transition. And we've seen very little this season from overlapping runs from Real Madrid. But one of the things that Real Madrid cannot afford to do in this game as well is go into a defensive shell like they did at the game at the Metropolitano. Real Madrid was up 1-0, but they ended up making some negative substitutions, which ultimately ended up costing Real Madrid the game. If you're up 1-0 against this Atletico Madrid side, and you know historically they seem to somehow pull last-second goals out of nowhere, then you cannot sit in a very defensive shell unless you have some world-class center backs on the pitch. If you had Paulo Maldini or Sergio Ramos back there, that's a whole different thing. They can command their box, but you just don't have the personnel to be able to do that. And that's why even if you're up by 1 goal, you need to close the game very well. And one of the things that Atletico Madrid does really well is they like to play passes from their wide positions. They like their wingers to attack down the wings and put the ball into the box. And that's why, again, it's really important to limit their attacking ability in transition down the wings. I talked about in my video on Davide Ancelotti, Carlo Ancelotti's assistant manager and son, about the advice he gave to Benzema when we played against Atletico Madrid, how he should hang at the top of the box and that he would find those little spaces there. I'd be curious to see if that's something that Real Madrid will look to do in this match as well. If you guys remember, it was Vinicius who actually created our opening goal where he assisted Eder Militao by drawing those two defenders and putting the ball in the box. Vinicius can create something out of nothing. He's a world-class player. This is a really important game. My prediction, unfortunately, is I think this game will end a draw. That is my prediction because of everything that I've seen so far this season. Let's hope that Carlo Ancelotti can surprise us all. But it's looking like so far this season, the team really struggles, really lacks balance, and Carlo Ancelotti has not found the solutions. Let me know if you guys agree. Maybe I'm the one who's more pessimistic, but that is my prediction. And unfortunately, if it does result in a draw, that means Barcelona is back in the title race. God forbid. That's all I got for this one. Let me know if you guys agree with my match prediction. Thank you for watching. Hala Madrid.